We're Soil Mates of Georgia. I'm Susie and this is Alex.
Hey.
We're here at the family farm, or Alex's family farm.
And today we're out standing in front of one of the pastures. Each of our pastures has a different name. This one is usually the pony pasture. Sometimes it's the hog pasture. But we haven't had ponies or hogs since I've been alive. The last time I think we had them when my mom was a little girl, well, 65 or 70 years ago, probably 70 years ago. But once it's got a name, it keeps a name usually, except we're finally starting to change it. This is where we planted a couple of apple trees in the early spring. So they're growing up. We're going to go over there and take a look at them. We also have, you can see these big trees here in the background. I don't think I'm blocking it. Those are pecan trees that my grandfather planted, I don't know how many decades ago, before I was born. So this is going to become the orchard over time because
we could maybe add some more trees every year. Plums, apricots would be yummy.
And more apple trees.
Yes.
So we have enough room to fit a handful of, probably we have 2 now. I think we can get at least 4 more apple trees and plum and apricot and maybe peach.
Oh yeah.
I think that's all going to fit in here if it's going as we're thinking. But we're new to this too, so we're going to see how it goes. But we're trying to pay attention when we plan them for future ideas too. So we're going to head on in and show you a little bit more of the apple trees up close.
We know it's raining, so just bear with us.
Alright, so we have 2 apple trees, like I said. This one is Pink Lady. The other one, which I'll show in a minute, is Granny Smith. When you plant apple trees, you have to have at least 2 so they can cross-pollinate, and they have to be different varieties. So as much as we love Pink Ladies, we couldn't have 2 Pink Ladies. You had to have a different variety. And Granny Smith are really good too, so we're not really missing out there. Anyway, this is one of our pastures, as I was mentioning here. It's not just a pasture because it's in a field, but it's actually a cattle pasture. That's why we have this gate around here. We have T-posts we drove in, have some, I guess, hog panel or hog wire around here. But it's around here to protect the tree from the cows, because the cows love to just get up and scratch their backs and their sides on stuff. And so what they were doing with another tree we planted, a live oak in another part of the farm, is they were rubbing up against it, knocking over and eating the leaves, and the deer were. I think the deer can still reach in here and get some, but this has done a good job so far keeping them out. And it just keeps anything from going in there and getting at it too close. And after it gets strong enough and big enough, like the pecan trees I was pointing out up there, it'll be fine. But we need it to be able to get in there and get some strength first. And Susie, if you bring the camera over, we're starting to run into some problems, it looks like. This is our first time planting apple trees or the first time for me planting them. But some of these leaves, let me see if I can pull this down some without getting the camera wet in the rain. Some of these leaves are getting eaten up, if that's visible, hopefully. And there's some that are worse than others. That one's almost all gone. As something's getting through it, it might be caterpillars or some other kind of insect. We haven't put any insecticide on it. We haven't even put any fertilizer on it because the nursery recommended waiting a few weeks or even a couple of months before you fertilize. And I've read some things online that say wait a year, other things say wait a couple of months, others say you can put it in the beginning. So we just haven't had any action yet. We did put a lot of good soil amendments in here when we started because this clay is just Georgia red clay, which anybody from the south, I think Alabama is similar, but Georgia's famous for the iron-rich soil that is not good for growing in. So we're trying to get that fixed at the same time. It's looking good. We had blossoms to start off with, except for a few of the leaves that are getting eaten. And let's see, oh, there's one over here, Susie, if you can show this. There's something, we don't know if this is a fungus or something getting to this, but this is where there was a blossom, and it's just, I don't know if it's just a dead blossom on here or if it's going to be anything. So anybody in the comments, let us know if you know more about apple trees. I should have thrown that farther away probably, but that's how this one is. There are no other leaves. I tore one off earlier. Could be that it was just too young and we planted it too late, because we did plant this late in the season. You're supposed to plant them in the fall or early spring. We were later spring. I think it was April when we did it. So we might have been a little late where the blooms weren't going to fruit anyway. So I'm curious how it's going to work out. Let's go take a look at the other one. Okay, so now we're over at the Granny Smith apple tree. Same setup we have on this one. We put the T-post in, wrapped it with the wire, give it protection. I don't see any of the same fungus possibility on this one that where the blooms were. There are some browning leaves, which we'll show in a little bit, but something I wanted to mention that I didn't say over there is how we water it. The house is a few hundred yards over this way, so we don't have a hose that goes this long. It'd be nice if we had something on a timer and had it all set up. But what we've been doing is whenever we come down here or my dad comes down here, we have jugs of water. We just fill them up at the house, put them in the truck, drive them over, and are pouring water on it. Not on a regular basis. Sometimes we go a week before one of us here, sometimes it's a few weeks. Luckily it's raining now, so we don't have to water tank. It's supposed to rain the next few days. But I wanted to kind of mention that we aren't babying these. I believe the recommendation was a gallon a day that we were supposed to put on it. We put a few gallons on every week or two. So far it's still green, it's living. That might be why it's more susceptible to fungus if it's not as healthy. The goal is if we can get it through one solid year, full calendar year, and the root system grows out, I think it'll be able to take a lot more. And then we'll also be able to fertilize, start getting on a regular schedule. Something I wanted to point out also, along with the watering, which now that I look at it, a note to us, Susie, is that we need to put some mulch down on here to keep the moisture in too, which once again I forgot. Next trip we're putting mulch on. But this is, like I said, it's a cow pasture. The cows don't come over here. This is a little bit off. They have access to it, but usually they're on main part of the farm over here. Over here you can see all of these briars that are growing up in here. I don't really want to bring the bush hog in here too close because I don't want to risk hitting anything. But we can come in here with the brush cutters like you saw us do the thistle on the hill in another video. Where I'm assuming you've seen it because you've watched all of our videos. But these are briars that are starting to come up. These are going to be huge suckers of nutrients. So I don't want them to like grow around and come in and cover up anything in here to give it shade. They're not going to get that tall. But they're starting to bloom now. This is early June when we're filming this. And so we need to come through with the brush cutter, get all, that one's good, get all the blooms out of here and take it down so that we clear out more of the forage. They're nice little blooms, and we just saw a bumblebee fertilizing or pollinating, which is good because they'll be, when these bloom again in the spring, it's good to know there are bees out here. But we're just in the middle of a cow pasture. We have some trees and we're going to see what we can do with it. And right now I'm just standing out in the pasture in the rain. So that's all we have for this update. We just wanted to give a little bit of an early update. These trees I think were 6 years old or so when I got them. And it's maybe 7 feet. The other one I think is closer to 8 feet. They're young, so we want to have some kind of footage to show what they look like now, and then over the years we'll keep showing them. And ideally in a couple years we're going to have some 10 or 15 foot tall trees with a lot of fruit on them. But now you got to see an early picture of where they are and where we're going.
Thanks everyone for watching. I know we only have 2 apple trees and 2 pecan trees, but we are so happy you're here seeing the beginning of this journey, and one day we'll have tons more trees and it'll be nice to harvest some fruit. Yeah. So this is the beginning.
And you'll be able to see where we go from it. Hopefully we can keep these guys alive and we'll have some fruit we could have some in the fall. They fruit in the fall.
That early?
Yeah,
really?
So it could be, earlier I said I think these were 6 or 7 years old, or did I say 8? They're at least 5 years old. So I wanted to kind of go back, and I just thought of this now. These are grafted trees, so that's a whole nother video to go all into the grafting process. We'll get to that another day. but they take another root and they put on the tree, and it gives a little head start. And then you can grow the type of tree you want, the way they set it up. Anyway, they start off pretty small. I wanted to get one that was a little bit stronger, had a better root ball, and so that's why we started with some that were taller. The smaller ones I didn't think might make it with us not babying it and being on here to water enough. This one hopefully is strong enough and old enough, mature enough that it can do it, and it'll produce fruit sooner. Since we're not spring chickens ourselves, I'm not, she is. We want some fruit, plenty of fruit, before we're too old to climb up and pick it. I think we have time, but that's where we are. Thanks again for watching. Of course, we want you to like and subscribe, and stick around and watch other trees as we plant them over the next few years.
Thanks,
y'all.
Bye.